fought them off. They were about to hit a double 619 on Logan Paul, but The Miz saved him, pulled him out of the ring, and they ran up the ramp, never to be seen again. We then got Edge in a very similar position from last week, but with a new theme song. No more metalinguists. No more You Think You Know Me. This is a whole different song, and I know it was on Twitter. I can't remember the name of the song right now, but it was actually pretty cool. Edge is really milking this new heel, just comes out and gives his spiel persona, which I kind of like. He says he's the benchmark, he's the reason everybody tries to perform in WWE. He then said, simple words, I'm better than everyone. He says Aj Styles was lost until Edge helped him come back to his old self. And this is going to be a great match. This is going to be the match that steals the show. There's no question in my mind. Edge versus Aj Styles. WrestleMania. When they announced it, that they were even thinking of it, I lost my mind. Because I'm like, this could be one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. I have no problem saying that these guys will perform their asses off. So I'm so excited for this Edge AJ Styles match at Mania. We then got Bianca Belaire versus Dewdrop in a nice little singles match. Bianca Belaire was able to pick up the win, showed amazing strength by picking up Dewdrop for the KOD. But after the match, she was attacked by Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch then hit Bianca Belaire with a chair to the throat against the steel ring post. They say Bianca Belaire has suffered a throat injury, and Becky Lynch went on Instagram and said, an eye for an eye, a throat for a throat. So I guess this is going to be a really grudge match at WrestleMania. I don't know why. For some reason, I'm not looking forward to this match. I don't know why. It just doesn't sit well with me in my head. Something's going to go wrong with this match. So, I don't know. We then got the RK Bro Raw Tag Team Championship Victory Celebration. Randy Orton thanks Riddle for believing in him. Orton said it is his 18th WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 38, and this will be the first time in the entire shows that he enters with the Tag Team Championship, and he is excited. The Street Profits then came out and challenged them to a Raw Tag Team match at WrestleMania 38. Orton said that's not how it works. They need to win a match. Montez Ford says he's not asking him. He's telling him that they're going to face him. Riddle then came out and calmed Randy Orton down. Orton then says, You're lucky my boy here is able to calm me down, so you'll get your tag team match at WrestleMania. But for right now, Riddle, you want to take care of Montez Ford, and Riddle and Montez Ford have a little bit of a match. Unfortunately, it ended via DQ and Alpha Academy interfered, Chad Gable. And Otis attacked both guys, and they then pointed their WrestleMania sign to show that they'll probably be added to the WrestleMania match. So that'll be a cool triple threat match. I'm excited for that triple threat match. We then got a video tribute to the bad guy, Razor Ramon. It was a beautiful tribute. Really talked well about him, and it just goes to show everybody's human. I mean, hell, Corey Graves was almost crying at the announce booth. And that isn't anything to be ashamed of, That's just your emotions getting the best of you. And Razor Ramon, yeah, goddamn. And then your main event, we got KO beating the crap out of Seth Rollins for a good 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Very good match. KO and Seth Rollins have amazing in-ring chemistry. I said that about WrestleMania 36. Amazing performers, and it just makes me happy that these two are still able to perform so well. Seth Rollins loses the match, looks at the WrestleMania sign as he sees his WrestleMania dreams dashed. That is what they were saying. The WrestleMania dream has become a nightmare. Foreshadowing. Yeah, so that's a very fun one to say. That's foreshadowing to a T. I'm guessing Cody Rhodes is signed. There's no way in my mind that he hasn't. and he'll probably debut either next week on Raw or the Raw right before WrestleMania and be like, Seth, you don't have an opponent? You do now. So, I imagine that's what it's going to be for WrestleMania. Seth and Cody Rhodes. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I was originally going to do WrestleMania 9 this week. I was going to do the worst WrestleMania of all time. But I can't. I decided to do one of the best WrestleManias ever in WrestleMania 10. WrestleMania 10 kicked off with a dark match with the Heavenly Bodies versus the Bushwhackers. Heavenly Bodies were able to pick up the win. Then the real show kicked off. Owen Hart versus Bret Hart in what's been called the best opening match in WrestleMania history. For those of you who don't know, going into this show, Bret Hart and Lex Luger both won the Royal Rumble. And instead of having a triple threat match, they both decided they would fight in 2 matches going into it. So, Bret Hart gets this one. Lex Luger faces the champion, Yokozuna. And whoever wins would face Bret Hart later on in the night. So, that was a little cool stipulation. Owen and Bret tore the house down in this match with amazing moves. I never thought that Owen could be capable of this until I watched this. I always heard how good he was, but then watching this, I'm like, okay, he really was all that in a bag of chips. So, Owen Hart able to pick up the win over his brother Bret, trying to prove he is the best Hart in the Hart family. Very good match. We then get Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon versus Doink the Clown and Dink the Clown, which is a little person version of Doink the Clown. A very, as good as the first match was, then you had this match. Okay match, just a little attraction match to get the fans to say, okay, calm down from the last match. You know? And then we get Randy Savage versus Crush in the Falls Count Anywhere match. A nice 9-minute match. They gave him plenty of time. I believe this will be Randy Savage's last match. This would be his last match in WWE. I believe it was. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. This, if it was, it would be his last match ever in WWE. Randy Savage picks up the win over Crush. We then get a singles match for the WWF Women's Championship. Alondra Blaze versus Liana Kai. It was a 3-minute match. Unfortunately, they didn't give this enough time. It could have been a great match, but if they had given it enough time. But they needed to make time for later on in the night, which I'll get to later. Alondra Blaze retains the title and holds on to her stranglehold on the WWF Women's Championship. We then get Man on a Mission, Mabel and Mo, versus the Quebecers, Quebec Jacques and Quebec Pierre. In a tag team match for the WWF Tag Team Championships. Now, Man on a Mission were actually not supposed to be tag team champions a little while ago. They won it at a house show, and then the next night on WWE programming, they would drop it to the Quebecers once again to win, for the Quebecers to go into WrestleMania as your WWF World Tag Team Champions. And the Quebecers would retain their titles by countout. They would lose the match, but since titles could not change hands on countout, they would retain the titles. After this, you get your first WWF Championship match of the night. You get Yokozuna defending his championship against Lex Luger. It was a very good little match. It was clear the company had made the decision, okay, Lex Luger isn't our guy anymore. They thought he was the heir apparent to Hulk Hogan. That's why they gave him the win at the Royal Rumble with Bret Hart. But going into it, they just decided, okay, it's time. It's not his time. So they make the call, Yokozuna wins by DQ. Mr. Perfect was the guest referee. This would lead to a feud with Mr. Perfect later down the road. Lex Luger would be pissed, but that was the call. So Yokozuna and Bret Hart are going to be your main event tonight. We then get Earthquake versus Adam Bomb. Brian Clark in a singles match that lasted 35 seconds. Earthquake beat him so fast it wasn't even fucking funny. And then the match that stole the show. The first ever ladder match. Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon for the IC Championship. This would be for the Unified IC Championship. Both men claim to be the Intercontinental Champion. They both had titles. The titles would be hung from the top of the ring. And God, Bret could only wish he was in this match. This match was so good. So amazing. You had Shawn Michaels diving off the top of the ladder with his ass hanging out of his pants after they accidentally fell off. He was able to pull him back up and redo his strings after he did a top off the ladder elbow drop on a Razor. You had Razor hitting the Razor's edge. Razor trying to move the padding for exposed concrete. He was going to throw Shawn Michaels onto it. Shawn Michaels super kicks him onto the concrete. Razor gets back in the ring. They brawl. Ladder. There was only one ladder in this match, by the way. That just goes to show how ladder matches have changed so differently. It's pretty funny because that ladder breaks. What the fuck are you guys going to do now? You idiots. If that ladder's gone, what the fuck is the plan here? I mean, seriously, what are you going to do if that ladder breaks? So, it's a fun little thing to think of. But thank God the ladder held up. You had Shawn and Razor throwing each other into the ladder, trying to beat the crap out of each other. Very good match. Razor ends up climbing up, picks up the win. Razor Ramon is your unified Intercontinental Champion. God, this match, I can't do it justice. It's such a great match, ladies and gentlemen. And this is, if you're looking for a match to go and honor Razor and watch, this is it. IC Championship match, WrestleMania 10. And now we go to your main event. A 10-minute match between Bret Hart and Yokozuna. I'm not going to go. Yokozuna was going into a champion. He had already competed earlier in the night. He was already trained. I mean, he's a big guy. And Bret Hart did say at WrestleMania 9 he wishes that they had a great match. But the first half of the match was what it's supposed to be. The second half of the match, Yoko was just so drained because he was a bigger guy that he just couldn't go in this match. So, it was a good match, but you could tell Yoko was drained. Bret Hart picks up the win after locking in the Sharpshooter. Bret Hart is your new WWF champion. Bret Hart stands there celebrating the ring with all the faces, the great people of the company, all the good guys of the company, and then you have Owen standing outside, just looking, Bret, saying, I'm going to take that title from you, bitch. I'm going to prove that I am the best to ever do it in the Hart family. And that was a great feud. The Harts had an amazing feud for so long because of that. WrestleMania 10 gets a A- for me. Always a great little fun WrestleMania to go watch if you have the time. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at the WrestleMania card as it's shaping up the way I see it right now. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns for a WWE Universal Championship, winner take all. You then got SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair.